because...
But, okay, if you're the constitutional, not lawyer, but who knows, where would that particular amendment slot in?
But this is
because I'm trying to suggest it from me. I'm reading my constitution, Article 1, Paragraph 2. Are you suggesting that there is one clause missing saying, oh, please give the Senate some teeth?
You see, even when you talk about the counties, the role of the Senate to supervise and to protect the counties and to protect devolution, it only does in as far as its own relationship with the county government is concerned. Distribution of the funds that was set aside for the county government by the National Assembly. It doesn't have an original jurisdiction. The Senate does not have an original jurisdiction to determine how much goes where. Okay,
I'm still following you as a layman. I'm still following you as a layman.
So the way to do
who is going to bring about the amendment?
That's the point.
Nani atabadilisha?
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yes.
It has to originate from the lower house. Nobody wants it to be referred to the lower house. But clearly when you have two houses, you must have the upper house and the lower house. So it has to go to the National Assembly. Whether the members of the National Assembly will allow a situation in which they move an amendment to the Constitution that gives teeth to the Senate itself, or rather allows it to exercise its role of managing and supervising and having a scrutiny as well as an oversight role on the county governments and controlling certain funds for the county governments in terms of what goes to the central government and what goes to the county governments.
Right.
It has to be done, it has to originate first of all from the lower house.
Right. So worst case...
Will they accept it?
Right.
Will they accept it? Will the same members of parliament who are right now fighting the Senate come into a situation and 67% of them or 2/3 majority of them will go and make that kind of an amendment or move that amendment?
So in
your
essence,
guess is as good as mine.
So in essence, we Kenyans are calling for our politicians in the lower house to show the best in their nature, the best for the preservation of Kenya as a national entity, to change things so that the senator ends up being what it was supposed to be from the outset.
That is one way. If it doesn't happen, then you go now and seek a referendum. You now go to the people of Kenya and you begin now collecting the signatures and get the requisite number. I don't know whether it's 1 million or 2 million of them, and then we go for a referendum.
And what are your views again about the going for referendi, the prodigious amounts of money that seems to be spent in this whole process?
It's not right.
To have hearings, to have tribunals, where in essence, if one has a budget, I ask this question, where does the money come from that wasn't budgeted for in the first place? Are we going to be bankrupt in our move towards the democratic paradise?
I'm now answering the question of how do we go about and allow the Senate to play its role effectively and making the right amendments to the Constitution, and those two ways.
Right. So there's a costly method, the referendum.
Costly method, and there's a cheaper method,
which
doesn't look that easy.
Right.
Yes.
Self-imposed.
Yes.
We have time enough to talk to you as somebody who's been in politics as a leader of the people from northern Kenya, known, I think it's a commonplace that this has been a highly marginalized, but for the first time we find that you have enough, you yourself a Somali, I think I'm right in saying, we have more Somali legislators in the Jubilee government now than we've had the sort of other big two, the Luyas and the Luos. Is this the great moment for change, or is the past forgiven and now you have such clout that you'll never look back?
Not the legislators, I think you mean government.
Right.
You mean the government?
The government, yes.
Well, there are more with northern Kenya, by the way, is two provinces. It's the upper eastern and northeastern province when you look at it. And in terms of land expanse, I think it's about a third of the country.
Right.
Closer to half of the country. But the marginalization, let me begin by talking about the marginalization. The marginalization was there, it was historical. The colonialists did it, the subsequent governments did it. And it's only being addressed now in the last 15, 20 years. However, but in small trickle-down kind of fashion. If you ask me whether there are that many, I could ask you the question. They're probably more from Central Province than the ones from Northeastern Province or from Northern Kenya.
Right.
They are probably more from Rift Valley than from the other side. But I can appreciate one thing. There's no question about that. Both in terms of the quality of the people the credentials of the people from northern Kenya who are in the government now, as well as the share or the quota. Both of them are good. I think it's for the first time this is being addressed in a manner that is fundamental. And that now I can give a lot of credit to the Jubilee government for having done that. Of course, appreciated the worth in terms of credentials. One of them is Aden Mohammed. Aden Mohammed, I think, was the managing director of Barclays, probably half the world, not just Africa, but a lot of the countries in Asia too were controlled from here. So he's somebody with these very powerful credentials on his own. Amina Mohammed equally is somebody who has powerful credentials, and there's no doubt about that. And then the other young man, Dr. Hassan Wario. All of them are in a class of their own. But then the fact that
you seem to be advancing an equation that the quality of leadership will eradicate the other kind of news item that I read on occasion, where we hear the Dogadia clan has totally massacred the, and you are on record as being the one who's passing a moment saying that you had a rampage that cost Garissa entrepreneurs over 1.5 billion to 2 billion in missed revenue, and the army behaved badly. Surely that's the plight of the Mwananchi on the ground. Forget the leaders with PhDs.
Precisely.
So I'm asking you to speak to the quality of life.
Yeah, that's what I'm coming to. In terms of, I was making the comparison, as you had indicated it, of the people who are appointed into the government, and telling you that those, by and large, is the credentials, and it's appreciable. But when you get over that, you need to find out exactly what's on the ground. We have less than...
Bloodshed, it seems to me.
Yes, we have less than 10, is it 20 kilometers of tarmac in the whole of Northeastern Province. In the whole of Northeastern Province. Outside Garissa, we have, I think, about 15 or 20 kilometers of tarmac, and that's it. We don't have any tarmac in Wajir, we don't have tarmac in Mandera, and infrastructure is not there, non-existent. It's never been inexistent any time in the past.
Schools?
Schools are there, but not as many as they should be. We're still right at the bottom when it comes to enrollments in terms of percentage, because the people are pastoralists. There are no industries. There is no any government projects and program to try and lift the people from the poverty and the dependence on food aid. So there are a lot of things that needs to be done. The fact that the people themselves are coming from that very harsh background and are very hardworking and very enterprising, are all over the world, not just in Kenya here, and all over Africa, trying to make a living, is something that you give the credit to them. But as a government, we haven't invested anything in them. We still need to do powerful investments in those areas. And I'm hoping, because we were hoping that the Equalization Fund was going to bring those ones who've been left behind at the same level as the others. But it's a dismal, it's a paltry 0.5% of the ordinary revenue of the government, which comes to a very small amount of money. Every county in that, I think, will be getting, what, maybe 100 million, maybe less. You can't build a tarmac from Garissa to Mandera. We had a project which was supposed to be funded with the Saudi fund and the Emirates fund and the Kuwaiti fund and all of them. They have put their share of the resources together. Kenya government was supposed to put up its own share. For the last 5 years, they never done it. The Treasury always had something else in other parts of the country which they felt was a bigger priority. So the marginalization is not just born out of the fact that it's a marginalization. It's a discrimination, to be honest with you.
Discrimination is the word.
Serious discrimination, yes. Right. Education, they're trying to make it all over. They're working hard now. There's no question about that. But what did we have? When I first came to Parliament in 1992, I was actually the patron of the Northeastern Province University Student Association. And there were hardly, 65 of them, all over. Only 65 students from a whole province. Sometimes we used to get less than 5 of them coming into the public universities from the province. Now, many of them are doing it through the parallel programs and making it very well and going to schools all over the country. But still, education in the province, in the region, all the way from Marsabit, Moyale, Garissa, Mandera, Wajir, Garissa, Tana River down in the Coast Province, Lamu, which was, the two of them were called Northern Frontier, Northeastern Province, and the contiguous districts. So because of our presence there,
Right. Sort of like,
when it comes to IDPs, we've been settling the IDPs from the post-election violence with billions of money which are allocated from the... We have IDPs every year. Every time you have a drought, you have 200,000 people from northern Kenya who get displaced. Nobody is saying let's purchase ranches for them so they can take their livestock, contribute to the economy, and at the same time give them the livelihood. No. We'll be taking people from Rift Valley, from other parts of the provinces, and take them to Lamu and settle them on some of those ranches which traditionally would have been very good for livestock, and push away the livestock owners and the herders from Northeastern Province. We have a problem right now when they come to Kitui and other places because they can't find sufficient pasture in the province. The province is the dry area. We're not settling them. So if we have to deal with a country where equality is there, and Okumu, your surname, and my surname, and the Waweru, and the Arab Ruto, and everybody else are going to feel themselves as Kenyans, we must do these things without any selection. We still practice discrimination. We help disproportionately high people from certain regions in giving them the livelihoods they want, and the others no.
Right, so I'm going to the very last question. Now you've got very little time in which to answer it. Are you fundamentally optimistic or optimistic?
Yes, very, very optimistic. We have come a long way. I can tell you, we've come a long way. We've come a very, very long way. I just told you, we at one time had about 65 students coming from Northeastern Province, the public universities. Today, I think they're probably about closer to 20,000 over a period of 20 years. Phenomenal. And that goes for every province in the country. It also goes for the university education. I mean, many years, 20 years ago, I don't know how many we had in our universities here. And today, look at it. We have a university in almost everywhere. When it comes to the politics, I understand the bumps are there. We are still trying to get it right. Corruption is there in a big way. We have political differences that essentially manifest themselves in many ways, but I still am very, very hopeful. I'm an optimist by nature, and I think this country is going to be one of the greatest countries in the world. There's no question about that.
Farah Maalim, former Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly of Kenya, thank you very much for coming on the JSO interview.
Thank you, John. Thank you.